Hey there, Patriots. Just want to make a quick video today about keeping you all informed about what we're doing around here in DC area, and maybe give you just a little glimpse of camp life. We're getting ready for a day today. I've been live streaming on Freedom Corner and at the DC courthouse and other places for the last week now. And we're trying to show America what's really going on with our country. I think most people are aware or sensible to the fact that unusual things are happening right now. The prosecution of Donald Trump is unrelenting and unprecedented. There has never been a president harassed like this before. From the moment he said he was going to run for president to this day, which is 7 years now, they have been on his heels like a chihuahua, and about as effective as a chihuahua on taking down Donald Trump. Most people understand that that's not normal. That is something that's unusual that's going on right now. And there's a reason for it. There's a reason for it. We believe that we elect our officials to run our government. But what's becoming apparent is that there is another level of bureaucracies that are running our government. And essentially, I'll try to put this in a nutshell version, is the people we elected to do that work have given their powers over to bureaucracies to achieve the goals that they perceive that we want. And those bureaucracies have become lifetime positions for people. It has become an area where we cannot get rid of the people that are in those positions with elections. And the whole point of putting representatives in charge of all this stuff was that we could elect them out when we feel that they're not doing a good job. And that's why every 2 years we get to re-elect or elect new House of Representatives. And every 6 years we could represent or re-elect new senators. Every state has 2 senators. And then every state has a varying amount of House of Representatives that is an equation on how many people live in the state. For instance, New York, Pennsylvania, California have lots of representatives in the House. 15, 19, I think California's got like 50. And then like Delaware has 1 or 2, and Rhode Island has 1 or 2, and I don't even know that these numbers are correct. I'm just trying to figure out what's wrong with our government, and I'm just finding out how my government works. I have been asleep at the wheel. I am at fault for some of this. We the people are at fault for allowing the operation of our government to be taken into the hands of career World Economic Forum people who are aware that if they got into these positions, they could take them over in time. And that's why you get the things you've been hearing about Twitter and about the White House and the FBI and the CIA going to Twitter, going to Facebook and saying they have to restrict the content that's being put out by their media platforms. So there's all kinds of government collusion in with private enterprise, which is not an American principle. We're supposed to have a separate capitalistic society that provides our needs for us, our energy, our food, our housing, our vehicles, our roads. And then we have a government, a federal government that's supposed to protect the country from enemies, foreign and domestic, facilitate trade between the states, and run the election and defend the Constitution. So the federal government has taken on way, way, way more than that. And they did that while we were sleeping. We have, well, the first one really that I'm aware of is Social Security, okay? Social Security is a socialist program where you make all the people pay in and then all the people get a benefit from it later. So that's not really an American principle. And the government created a crisis where it was needed during the Depression, crashed the economy, and all of a sudden there was a lot of people that couldn't afford their rent, were getting kicked out of their homes, couldn't afford food. And at that time, there was a lot of charities. There were soup kitchens. They weren't welfare kitchens. They were privately run soup kitchens from churches and communities that fed the people. But then the government instituted Social Security as a good idea, where we tax everybody. And then right now there's these people that need some of this money, so they're going to get it right away, even though they didn't pay in. And it's a good safety net, is what it is, but it's a usurpation of the government's powers. They usurped our power and took it unto themselves to guarantee us Social Security. The next one that comes to mind is the Board of Education. It's not a federal thing. George Bush Sr. was adamant about no child left behind, and he made it sound like a great crusade. But what he did is he took power away from each state individually, gave it to the federal government, and put up guidelines as to what the requirements are of what the schools should be teaching to the kids. So all this happened while I was alive and disengaged from my government, because I went to government schools all my life. I got out of school and was pretty much a communist, because that's what they taught us to appreciate when the whole community comes together and helps out. I want the whole community to come together and help out, but I don't want the government involved with that. If the government has to get involved with that, it's not truly a community effort. I like the idea of charity. We all have a charitable heart, that if we have something extra, then we can help our neighbor who has less than us, and help them get out of a rut, or help them get well again, help them find housing. I mean, we do a good job at that, but now the government has just totally entwined itself in our charitable efforts, and it's called welfare and unemployment and all kinds of stuff. But it's not us, we the people. Now we're getting taxed X amount for our charity. We're being required to donate X amount for the government to be charitable to our country. We just got to figure out what's going on, folks, and it's out of control right now. And then we got the media. The media, historically, the media has never been perfect. There were people writing articles in newspapers back during the Revolutionary War that were not with George Washington, and they thought that everybody should just shut up and listen to King George because he's our king, don't disrespect the king. But King George was screwing us over. Read the Declaration of Independence. There's many, many points as to why we decided to declare independence from that tyranny, and we did. And not everybody was with it, but those that were fought the good fight, won our independence, and the rest of the people just either stayed in their houses until it was over, and then they came out when our republic was born. And they're better off for it, but they didn't stand up and do anything for it at the time. I think we got the same situation going on right now. These bureaucracies that have no accountability to us are on controlling everything controlling our taxes, controlling our highway systems, our railroads, our food production. And then the media is supposed to present facts to the people so that we can cast an intelligent, well thought out vote on how this country should proceed. Kind of like a big company. We decide who runs the company, who runs the country. And if the media isn't presenting us with valid information, with truthful information, and all the information, we cannot make an educated vote. So where the media has dropped the ball in the last 7 years, well, in the last year, the JFK assassination investigation was supposed to be released to the public. They felt that for some reason they had to seal that investigation, all the facts involved with that investigation, into JFK's death from us, the voters, because of, we don't really know why. So they sealed it for 60 years until everyone that was involved with that should probably be dead, which leads me to believe there were some crooked people involved there. Joe Biden just resealed those documents for I don't know how long yet. I don't know how he was able to do that. I don't know why he was able to do that, and I don't know how long he's going to keep them sealed for. There's also a big thing going on with the Hunter Biden laptop. For years it's been going on. The FBI won't answer any questions about it. The DOJ says it's under investigation. We can't tell you what we're thinking or doing or if we're doing anything. They could be investigating it and not doing anything, but just call it that to not talk about it. There was a Hillary Clinton laptop server in her house while she was Secretary of State of the United States of America. She was subpoenaed to come speak before Congress, and rather than present the evidence that they asked, she smashed her phones up. Only a criminal would do that. All this is happening and no repercussions to Hillary. There was a Wiener laptop. He was caught texting perverted pictures and comments to minor children. And he's a pervert. And they took his laptop and found out there was information on there pertaining to Hillary Clinton and Huma Abedin, who was Hillary's aide at the time. And we never found out what's on that laptop. This is all information that Americans need to know about in order to make an educated vote. There was also a guy named Seth Rich during Hillary's run for the presidency. The beginning of the whole Russia thing. And Seth Rich was an organizer and a higher level up in the DNC, the Democratic National Convention. And he got murdered one night after one of their rallies while Hillary was campaigning. And he had a laptop that WikiLeaks had got their hands on or released some information from it. That's still under investigation. We have no idea what's on it, what isn't on it. The FBI, the DOJ, the CIA, the NSA, the military. Who's looking at it? We still haven't heard from that, and that was 7 years ago now. We've also recently, in the last 2 years, convicted a guy named Jeffrey Epstein, who he was previously convicted of prostituting minor-aged girls and boys. He got found guilty of that, got a slap on the wrist, served a little bit of time in jail, got out of jail, and next thing you know, he's hobnobbing with Bill Clinton and Bill Gates, and he's got an island out, he has his own island, and these people were being flown in There's a flight log of everybody who got flown into that island, and all the big names are on it. Movie stars, sports people, politicians, where they were compromised. His girlfriend or partner, Ghislaine Maxwell, was prosecuted and found guilty. She is now serving time in jail. Guilty of trafficking minor age children to have sex with them. And the investigation has ended. Now, that was 2 years ago. Now, all the people that used their services were guilty of a crime. And there has been no release of any investigation, no prosecutions for any of their clients that were coming to Epstein Island. We got to know who those people are so they don't turn up on our ballot, so we don't end up voting them into office. Because those people they're either compromised or threatened to the point where they are ineffective. They cannot do their job unguided by the people that are holding on to them, that have threatened them or have the evidence of their corruption and are blackmailing them with that evidence. There are also reports about the pandemic that are trying to be hidden. They wanted to hide some reports for 70 years. Luckily, a judge said that they're not allowed to do that. We, the people, need to know at least how effective drugs are that we're allowed to buy. The government has set regulations on the drugs. That's the Drug Enforcement Agency, the FDA, the American Medical Association. All these are called alphabet agencies because really you just hear 3 letters, ADA. Oh, okay, whatever that is, the AMA. That's the American Medical Association. They are in charge of licensing all the doctors in America. They conglomerated power to the federal government, took it away from the states, and congealed it in the federal government. So a centralization of power is never really a good thing. That's not how this country was set up, and that's why it's worked for so long. We're about to celebrate 250 years of independence. This system works, and it's when we stray away from that system that it doesn't work. So these are all topics that the mainstream media has dropped the ball on. They're not reporting on these things. They report a little bit of them, so when you ask somebody who just watches TV for their information, you go, yeah, what about that Jeffrey Epstein client list? And they'll go, oh yeah, I heard about that guy. Well, they heard about him 4 years ago for 3 days, and the story disappears. No journalists are asking any more questions about it. They should be on that story, finding out more information, presenting it to law enforcement so that they can arrest criminals. People who partake in criminal activity need to be arrested. So there's this perception that our law enforcement is on automatic pilot. It will just bust criminals and we don't have to do anything about it. That's not true. We have to be eyes and ears open, on the ground, watching. We have to present evidence to them every once in a while to nudge them to take on an investigation, to start looking in a certain direction when we see criminal behavior, criminal activity. The mainstream media has dropped the ball on these whistleblower hearings. There's 30 hearings going on here in D.C. every day while Congress is here. And yesterday there was, 2 days ago, there was like 30 hearings going on. And the one that the mainstream media reported on was the hearing about UFOs. Okay, so what does the government know about UFOs? Well, if you got discernment, you know that's a nothing burger story. You know what everything is there. And it's nothing but a distraction. That same day, they just dropped all charges against the FTX owner, Samuel Bankman Friedman, that college punk-looking kid with the goofy hair who was supposedly running a multi-billion-dollar company that went belly up bankrupt a year and a half ago. Then he hid out in his mansion on some island, Bahamas, Bermuda, somewhere. They busted him, brought him here. Well, he's innocent now. No charges. Charges are dropped. Hundreds of millions of dollars vaporized, vanished under his watchful leadership. Some people committed suicide. The damage to their savings and treasure, wealth that they had stored up was gone because of this guy's incompetence and criminality. And he was a big Democrat donor, so it was another money laundering operation, just dropped. No charges. Where is the journalists? Where's the news story? They're dropping the ball. Brevard County, Florida, has just announced that the vaccine is a bioweapon. Let that sink in. A local government has looked into all the information that the government's not looking into, that the journalists aren't looking into, the news media is not looking into, that's getting swept off the internet, censored. All that information is getting just censored. You can't put it on these media platforms. They just decided to declare any doctor that gives that vaccine anymore is guilty of administering a bioweapon. That's a county, Brevard County in Florida. Another interesting story that the press didn't cover was, do you know who Rand Paul is? Rand Paul is a doctor, and he is a senator, and he is referring Dr. Fauci for prosecution. So he's one voice out of 535 over there in their Capitol building that take a look at the evidence, has an educated mind as to how a doctor would interpret all this evidence, and he is recommending that Fauci gets prosecuted. He's not a cop. He's not a sheriff. He can't go out and arrest Fauci, but he did his investigations, and as a senator is advising law enforcement and his colleagues to go after Dr. Fauci for you know what. Still can't even say that stuff on YouTube. The very next day, Rand Paul's office catches on fire. True story. Was that on NBC News? I don't think so. Oh yeah, maybe I saw that. Yeah. But it doesn't register to most people who are just watching TV. Now, the good thing about this is that only 3, 4, or 5 million people watch TV every day. Do you know how many people are in this country? Over 350 million. So if you do the math, that's like 1.5% of all people are watching TV. All the rest of us aren't watching TV. We're either ignoring everything because they make everything so repulsive and confusing to think about that we can't handle it. It's a paradigm busting concept to try to figure out what they're doing in DC. Or we're investigating it. We're finding information on the internet. We're creating a network where we can talk to each other uncensored and get to the bottom of these, get the facts and come to conclusions and figure out a strategy for how do we proceed from this predicament we are in. We are in a predicament. There was also, we got the whole Ukraine thing going on now. And Joe Biden, I think it's up to about $180 billion, has given Ukraine. Now, early on in this confrontation, it was made known, and our Ukraine ambassador, or the lady who's in charge of our relationship with Ukraine, was being questioned by Congress and admitted that we had over 90 biolabs in the Ukraine. 90 U.S.-owned biolabs in the Ukraine. Why weren't those biolabs in America, you may ask? And I would ask that. Why weren't they here in America? Why do we have biolabs in Ukraine? Right next to Russia, the boogeyman enemy of ours that, they got to keep inflated. That's because Obama made a law back in 2014, I believe, that we can't do these biolabs in America because they're dangerous. They can be turned into weapons. There were accidental releases. They can have accidents. People can die. Obama said no more, not in America, which is a good reason why they put one in Wuhan, and we funded that one. Wuhan, China, that might ring a bell. And why we had 90 of them on the border of Russia in another country that recently rebelled from Russian rule under Obama, by the way. It's not looking good for us, America. It's looking bad for our leaders, but it's not looking good for us. Our leaders are guilty of some heinous crimes. And it's up to we the people to change this, or the world is going to come in and change it for us. And that's a big concept. That's nothing in my lifetime, my dad's lifetime, my grandfather's, World War II. That was a world war, and we are on the precipice of a world war right now. So what are we all doing about it? I'm a patriot. I love my country. I love my God. I love my family. Between me and my God, we're good. We got a great relationship. Between me and my family, everything's good. That can go on autopilot for a while. I can invest some time now in my country, and I feel like I should because I've ignored my country. I voted, but they weren't educated votes. I had to hold my nose and vote every election because I couldn't stand either one, but just one was less bad than the other one. Donald Trump was the first time I didn't have to hold my nose and vote. And look what they did to him. So I'm investing some time in my country. I'm hanging out with a good group of people right now that's investing some time in their country. We're learning new stuff. We didn't even know how to start to fight against this. We feel like David and Goliath. There's this monster out there that needs to get taken down. This monster is mocking us. He's throwing shit at us. He's ready to run through the camp and kill everybody we know, and somebody's got to take him down. And all our big, strong men have been struck with fear for some reason. All the people that should be standing up to this are actually backing the monster. There's people with money that could be doing a way better job at this than I am. There are people with money fighting, but there's just so few of them. But we're fighting. We're taking our resources of time and money and equipment, and we are applying it to fight against this monster that has taken over our country. If this monster is allowed to continue to exist, we don't know how long we're going to last, because this monster is taking us out one by one. They took out a lot of fine patriots that showed up in D.C. on January 6th, 2021. We all voted in November. November and December went by. A lot of evidence was presented as to shady things going on in that election that needed to be taken a look at. On January 6th, we showed up when Congress was going to certify that election. And instead of certifying that election, they could have not certified it. They could have put it on hold and taken a 10-day investigation and look at the evidence that we presented to them. But nobody ever looked at the evidence. Judges cannot throw people in jail. Judges are not law enforcement. They're judicial. They punish crime. They don't prosecute the crime. So November and December, all that evidence was presented to courts. The judges said no standing, I'm not a cop. The news reported all that and made everyone believe that our evidence was not good, credible evidence. And then we all stood up on January 6th. Our government ignored us. An event was orchestrated to facilitate a shutdown of that congressional hearing, which is the last thing anybody that was there wanted to happen. Nobody wanted to shut that down. In fact, we were validating our belief in that system by being there, by waiting for that day till Congress came together to certify that election. We were validating their power that we gave them to take a look at that election and to possibly not certify that election, just call it a fraud, look at the evidence, call it a fraud, or take a 10-day investigation, which is all part of their duties to defend this country, this constitutional republic, from enemies, foreign and domestic. So what we're talking about right now is a domestic enemy, an enemy inside. We wanted them to look at the evidence at least, and they couldn't even do that. In the beginning, there was 115 or 120 of our representatives said, yeah, we should look at this evidence. Yeah, we shouldn't certify this election right now. And that's when windows started breaking and doors started breaking and people just started getting ushered into the Capitol building. Very, very timely event that happened right there. They swept all the members of Congress down into wherever it is they go, while the people walked through the Capitol shouting things, most of them confused as to what was going on. And then later in the night, they all came back out of their hole and voted to certify that election. That's what happened on January 6th. So out of 1 million people that were there in D.C. there that day, 1,000 of them have been prosecuted now. They just prosecuted 40 more last month. The DOJ has just received $30 million more to go and prosecute even more J6ers. And the J6ers are the 1/3 of 1% of the patriots of this country who actually felt compelled to go stand in D.C. that day. So they are the finest of us. And they are going after them relentlessly. The sentences that they're getting are outrageous. Doesn't compare to any other similar crime. Guy got 12 years for breaking a window. Never heard of a guy getting 12 years. You go break a window anywhere. You go break a window on the... Well, there is an example. Paul Pelosi, that guy just broke a window. He took a hammer and broke Paul Pelosi's back door window out. Did he get 12 years in prison for that? No. Only fine patriots get 12 years in prison for breaking a window. So I don't know what my point is. My point is, thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. Thank you for thinking in this direction with me. And thank you for the possibility of backing us up when the time comes. Because we're not talking about a civil war. We're not talking about raising up arms. We're talking about January 6th type effort, where so many people come together that they can't be ignored. We will demand a response to our grievances, and we can fix this problem, America. The framework of the Constitution allows that, and that is the divine beauty of our Constitution. So I'm standing today. I've been standing all week. It's a sacrifice. I'm okay with that. It's worth it. And I'm here to urge you all to call your senators, get engaged with the government. Find out what these 30 committee hearings were. I found out that my congressman, who ignores me all the time, Lloyd Smucker, he takes my calls. I've called him 30 times. I still have never talked to him. It's always his person in the office who's nice as pie. And he sent me 3 letters now over the last 4 years. I found out he's on the Ways and Means Committee. I'm 60 years old. I love my country. I don't even know what a Ways and Means Committee was until yesterday, okay? I finally found out that he's on the Ways and Means Committee, or I knew that, but then I just found out that the Ways and Means Committee is in charge of looking at offshore bank accounts. And lo and behold, this morning in the news feed, in the Hunter Biden tax evasion case, it comes out that there's offshore bank accounts owned by the Bidens. Nobody's allowed to look at offshore banking accounts. The investigator in Delaware was told, oh, you can't look there. You're not allowed. That's out of your jurisdiction. So he didn't. And among other things, he was told to not look into. And that my guy, Lloyd Smucker, you're in charge of Ways and Means. And if we got a guy that is breaking the law with the offshore bank account rules here in America, then it's up to you to fix it, sir. It is up to you, Lloyd Smucker, to fix it. And I expect you to be at any committee hearing about this, and I expect a report, because you work for us, Lloyd. You work for us, man. So get engaged, get educated, and let's figure this government out and root out the rats that are in there, and let's get real people in there. Let's get real rules. Let's get Mitch McConnell out of there. He just passed out with his eyes open at a microphone 3 nights ago. We got Dianne Feinstein getting wheeled into voting, wheeled in on a wheelchair to vote. It's time for her to vote, and she doesn't even, she goes into a speech. An aide walks up and goes, just vote yay. And she laughs and votes yay. That's an insult. That is a slap in the face to the American people. And I don't even believe these people are really getting elected, because look what's been happening in the last 2 elections. We just here in I live in Pennsylvania, and we just elected a stroke victim, a damaged stroke victim, into Congress. Not the House of Representatives, Congress. He's in there for 6 years. We're going to deal with this guy. So America, I'm out of wind. It's hot. We're getting ready. We got work to do today. I hope you're following the live streams I've been doing. I haven't made just a video in a long time. And I appreciate you following along. Try to catch our live streams at Freedom Corner. We're trying to get the J6ers some justice. We're trying to get Ashley Babbitt, Roseanne Boylan justice for their murders, which has not been administered yet. Kevin Greason, Benjamin Phillips, 4 patriots died that day. 0 cops died that day. According to Joe Biden, 5 police officers died on January 6th. That's a lie, Joe. That's a lie. You just come on and you lie to people, and nobody knows you're lying. They just hear your words and believe them. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for your participation. And thank you for your love of our country. Let's get started. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. We got a lot of work to do. We got to ask forgiveness that we've allowed it to get to this point. We have to become aware that we are the solution. And there will be no civil war. We don't want anybody to die. We do this peacefully. We do this constructively. We do this by the book. And the book is the Constitution. It's a beautiful thing. It's only 18 pages long. Read it, figure out what it means, and it's not as repulsive as you were led to believe. It's a divine document. It's a thing of beauty, and it will allow us, we the people, to get through this without a civil war. So God bless America. God bless you, patriots. I'm Jericho. Over and out.